Today's episode features Christine Caine, best-selling author, speaker, and activist. Guys, I'm really excited about this. You're going to love this conversation, and it's coming up right now on Sports Spectrum.
This is Sports Spectrum, the intersection of sports and faith, where we bring Jesus back into the conversation. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. I am Jason, and this is Sports Spectrum, our website, sportspectrum.com. It has all of our content right there at the website. That's where you need to go check out each and every day for our podcasts, daily devotionals, and of course, articles, stories on the intersection of sports and faith in Jesus Christ. Read about the athletes, read about the coaches, all the different people in the world of sports and their love for the Lord. You can check it out at sportspectrum.com. And also, when you're on the website, you'll see a little area that says newsletter. Click that part of the website, click the icon. It takes you to a little space where you just put your name and your email address, and you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter. And when you do, you'll actually get a 10-day free daily devotional that you can use, a 10-day devotional written by professional athletes, people from the world of the NFL, NBA, baseball, written by them. It makes a great tool. First of all, it's free. It comes right to your inbox, a daily digital download, and then you can maybe order 10 of them, right? Sign up with your different friends to receive the devotional and go through it. Go through it for 10 days with your team. Go through it for 10 days with your staff, or maybe just read it yourself and encourage and enrich your walk with the Lord. You can sign up for free at sportspectrum.com. Click the newsletter icon, put your email address in, and you are good to go. You receive the free digital download over at sportspectrum.com. I want to say thanks to our partners and sponsors today, Compassion International. You know about Compassion and their Fill the Stadium initiative. 70,000 kids left in desperate need of help because of the pandemic. So they rallied. Compassion rallied with our pro athlete friends to create this Fill the Stadium initiative. And now we're making a pretty big dent in this initiative. It was 70,000 kids to start. That was our goal. We're about 70% of the way through in reaching 70,000 kids. So we're making a big dent here, but we still need your help. Food, education, medical care, vocational training. These are the things that you and I take for granted that these kids need because of the dire situation that they are in. So we need your help. Go to fillthestadium.com to give now. Fillthestadium.com. You can donate, help release these kids and their family from poverty. Fillthestadium.com. This is a stadium that cannot remain empty. Fillthestadium.com. Really excited for Christine Caine, our guest today. If you don't know who Christine Caine is, well, man, get with the program. She's one of the most influential voices in the Christian space out there. She's written a ton of books. She's a best-selling author, a speaker, an activist. She's from Australia, so she's got an incredible accent. She's also got an incredible book, a brand new book. It's called How Did I Get Here? It releases June 8th. It's really on the slow drift that so many of us have in our walks with the Lord. And this is a book that I highly recommend because, as Christine will tell you here in the show, no one is immune to the slow drift that takes place in our relationships with Christ. And we need a little reset. And this book can be a great help. Christine is married to Nick. She has 2 daughters. She also founded the A21 Campaign in 2008 with her husband, Nick, and is currently the CEO of A21, the nonprofit that fights to abolish slavery everywhere forever. Christine is also a pretty big sports fan. She's also it's funny, she's got this hidden talent, this hidden sports talent that she discloses here on the show. I love this conversation. Grab a notebook, grab a pen, take some notes. Christine Caine is full of wisdom, and she shares it all with you today here on Sports Spectrum. Take a listen. Christine Caine, welcome to Sports Spectrum. How are you?
Come on, Jason. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a wannabe athlete, so this is my dream come true today.
Aren't we all, Christine? In all honesty, aren't we all? I do want to start there in sports because your new book is coming out. How Did I Get Here? We want to talk about that in a second. It's available June 8th. But I kind of just following you and checking out some tweets, and you can go back and look, and that's maybe a good thing and a bad thing. But certainly I was reading some of your tweets about being a sports mom to your daughter. And I think your kids, I read at least one of them played soccer and volleyball. Am I right on that?
Yeah, Catherine, volleyball and tennis currently. And, I love it. And I come from a sport background, but, we have sports in Australia that I'm not sure you're familiar with in America. Like I used to play netball. So I played representative netball. I don't even know if that's here in America.
I don't even know what that is. Describe what that is.
It is. It's where you throw the ball into a net. It's like basketball, but you don't bounce the ball.
Okay.
So come on. Oh, see, this is it. This is cross-cultural communication issues we're having already straight away. So I played netball for years, and I actually played for my state in the under-18s table tennis Australian Championship. So, I am Forrest Gump table tennis player extraordinaire. I have hidden skills. So at youth camps, I would always surprise the guys because they would look at me. I'm like 5'2", they're all playing football or basketball. And then there's always a ping pong. They call it ping pong. We call it table tennis, a ping pong table.
Sure.
And I would just act like the poor little speaker that just didn't know how to do anything. And I'd see the boys like, hey, miss, we'll play you ping pong. And I go, okay. And I would always I'm right-handed, but I would play with my left hand for the first game. And then I would just pull out and I'd beat them 21-love, 21-love, 21-love. And my cred at every youth camp in North America went up through the roof because I could beat the guy. So I used to say, you have to listen to my Bible talk and then I'm going to slam you at table tennis.
Now, do you still have some game, Christine? Like if we were to go play table tennis, are you wiping me off?
I think I could pull out. I'd surprise you. Let's put that. I might surprise you.
I love that.
It was before it was an Olympic sport. So my dad, he said if it was tennis, he would let me go professional because the Korean coach wanted to take me to Korea when I was 18 and go over there. I loved it. But I mean, I'm older. I'm 55. So back in my day, there was no money in playing table tennis. So there was, Dad was like, no, you're going to university. So that was the end of my table tennis career. But so since then, I'm kind of that mother that, loves it. And so my kids enjoy it. It's, if they had wanted to go down the route of a professional athlete, I would have been that mother, but I'm also not forcing them. I'm trying to go, okay, we're all enjoying the game, but I love it. I love all sport. I particularly like Australian football. I'm still getting used to American football. Okay. My part of the world, Jason, there's no helmets, there's no pads, and you run the entire time that you're on the field. So it's a bit different.
But you've connected with a lot of different people and athletes in the world of American football. Just knowing Nick Foles as a good friend and Andy Dalton, some of those people have done some work with your ministry, and you've connected with a lot of different American football players and their wives, right?
I love it. Last night, Nick and I actually had dinner with Nick and Tori Foles. And, Andy and JJ as well have been great supporters in the fight against trafficking. My husband and I oversee a global anti-trafficking organization, the A21 Campaign. Yeah. And these guys have been on the front lines, like really, really committed with us to eradicate slavery everywhere forever. So I've spoken a few at PAO, and I have met so many unbelievable athletes, and they've become friends. We go out to dinner with them, they've just become amazing people. And so many of them are really involved in the fight to end trafficking. So I love that.
Yeah, that's really good. Christine Caine is our guest here on Sports Spectrum. Did you attend an American NFL game? Have you been to a game?
Oh, I have. Because,
were you lost watching it? Were you completely confused?
I'm still learning. I love it. My husband is obsessed, man. And he knows every play. I'm not allowed to talk to him. I'm not allowed to ask him, what is Andy Dalton planning? I'm not allowed to speak. There is a code of silence. I'm like, why is he throwing that? Why is he doing? And it's it is not good for our marriage for me to talk when Andy Dalton is holding a football. So it's kind of, I've had the opportunity to go to a few. I'll tell you, a friend of mine once, it was a few years ago, took me. Now, this is what really freaked me out, to an LSU playing Mississippi, I think, game.
Oh, my gosh.
Jason, I have never in my life, I'm 55 years old, heard that much noise in my entire existence. I didn't know it was possible for people to sing, shout, bang things. I'm standing up, and a friend of mine had a box, so we had the privilege, to be able to sit in one of those. I was watching it like a sociological experiment from Australia, going, I have never and I went to, the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games in Australia. I've been to Olympic events, even soccer games, because I love soccer. That's, I'm Greek, so it's my passion.
Of course.
Soccer games in Europe. But the LSU Mississippi game, in everything I've been to a Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspurs game. I've been to lots. I have never seen anything or heard anything as loud as the fans to that. I thought they need to bottle this experience. This is like another level. It was awesome. The game is great too, but the fans were really cool.
Well, I was just going to say, that is the epitome of what college football in the South is, right?
Right. I loved it. I love that whole experience. But it was like, in Australia, in a college game, you wouldn't get 300 people turn up. So it's just like I went, because I was laughing when my friend said, come to our LSU game. I was thinking, like, who's going to go, and I thought, yeah, I'll come. I'll cheer you on. I'll be your friend from Australia. I'll bring them. And then I walk into this 90,000 people, and it's just like, I wish everyone could have that experience once in their life. And especially like when you're a foreigner and you come and you're like, this really happens. It's like wild.
Yeah, it's insane. I did want to ask you and go back a little bit when I was talking about your child playing sports, to have you describe your sports mom personality when you're watching, because I struggled with this with my daughter. My daughter is going to be 17 years old very soon here. And so when she started playing sports, it was softball that she played. She was 10. And, I'm the sports guy, right? Working at ESPN, and I go and sit in the chair, and I know more than the coach, and I know more than everybody. So my daughter, gets called out on a play, and I start, raising my voice a little bit at the ref, like talking to my wife, hey, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. My wife just calmly said, you need to be quiet and just cheer your daughter on. And since then, I've been better. Let's just say that. I still get the juices flowing. What are you like when you're watching your kids play, or maybe how you have evolved over the last few years watching them play?
Yeah, I've become more Christ-like as time goes on. Let's just say it has been an evolutionary journey. And for the sake of my kids, because I embarrass them, and they're like, Mom, we will ban you from coming. We will, because I'm Greek and emotive and demonstrative. I'm going to I'm there. Yeah. And, but, teenage girls do not want their mother being that mother in the crowd. So for the sake of family unity and just not scarring them emotionally, where they're going to need 20 years of therapy because of their overactive sports mum, it's like, okay, I've learned to, just tone it down. It's my daughter's final tennis match tomorrow. Okay. And so the fact that she's even letting me come says that I've come a long way.
Let's take a quick break from our conversation here on Sports Spectrum to tell you a little bit more about Fill the Stadium and our friends at Compassion International. Now, you know about Compassion. They are the most trusted child development ministry in the world. All that they do is about children and releasing them from poverty. They do it all in Jesus' name. And now we have this Fill the Stadium initiative that's been going on for more than a year now, and we're making such amazing progress trying to fill 70,000 empty seats with children who are in crisis. 70,000 kids were left without an opportunity for food and shelter and clothing and all the basic necessities that children should have. Normally, they would get sponsored in a regular year, but the pandemic wiped all of that out. And so now you can come alongside myself, our friends at Compassion, our pro athlete friends, and help fill the stadium and release kids from poverty. You can go to the website, fillthestadium.com, to donate right now, fillthestadium.com, and let's release these kids from poverty. Let's reach our goal of 70,000 filled seats. Go to fillthestadium.com. She is Christine Caine, the best-selling author, speaker, and activist. The new book, How Did I Get Here, is available June 8th, 2021. So let's talk about that book. How did you get here with this book, Christine? Tell us about it.
You know, it's a book that really talks about us drifting in life. And I think, look at the last year. We've had this big pandemic and the world's been pretty cray-cray for the last 4 or 5 years, really, at an accelerated rate. Yeah. And I had gotten to a whole lot of stuff happened in my personal life, just a lot of loss. My mum died, my sister-in-law died, my husband's sister and brother-in-law died, and we're living in America, they're in Australia. So there's a lot of loss and grief kind of happening, in that season. And there was some transitions that were happening at work, and I had a personal betrayal in a friendship. It was kind of like the personal storm, like a whole bunch of emotional stuff happening at once. And you're a bit of a public figure. Everyone's got an opinion on how you should live your life. And there was so much happening in the world, I think, in terms of, racial injustice and politically, and just a lot of things happening that, for some people, you're not saying enough. For other people, you're saying too much. I mean, you're not going to win whichever way you go. So I came to this place, I think, sort of early 2017, where I was just said to my husband, to be honest, what he was doing, Jason, he was watching a video on Netflix about the Navy SEALs and Hell Week because he wanted to relax. And I got into bed and I'm like, what is this? Like, how is this relaxing? Yeah. And so what I didn't realize back then about Hell Week was that the whole goal is that they try to break you down so that you ring the bell and you go. So it's emotionally, physically, spiritually, and I'm number one, I thought that's really mean, a mean thing to do to people. But anyway, so then I'm like, there was this one scene. They dropped the guys out of the helicopter into the Pacific. They got to swim to shore, which is several miles in the freezing cold Pacific. They haven't slept all week anyway. It's the normal deal. And I said to my husband, I think this is how I feel. I said, I feel like, in my case, in the spiritual realm, like I've always said, we are like, our ministry is the Navy SEALs. We're like frontline, man. We're going to go in, we're going to put traffickers in jail. We're going to, rescue people. We're going to empower women. I'm just like, we are the Navy SEALs of the church. You need everyone, but we're the SEALs. Yeah. And so, you got to have a thick skin, and you just know you're going to run harder, and that's what you signed up for. But I said, I feel like I've been dropped in the Pacific, and I know I'm not going to die. I know I can handle it. I know I can swim to shore, and I know I can complete the mission. And I got really quite emotional. I said, but for the first time in 30 years of following Jesus, I don't know if I want to. And when those words came out of my mouth, Jason, it freaked me out, because I'd had a couple of times in the last 30 years where I thought, I don't know if I can do this. Like, man, this is just way out of my league. But I'd never been, I don't know if I want to do this, because I knew how hard it would be to keep pressing forward, because it's like I'm not young and dumb anymore. It's like I've been around, and I thought, okay, to keep pressing on and to keep going full on and leaving, just leaving nothing on the table, just going for it for Jesus. I knew now truly what the cost is. And it was like, I thought, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've got enough momentum that if I just take my foot off the gas a bit, no one's really going to know, because I've got I'm a chick, I'm 55. I've been running a global anti-slavery organization, traveling and writing and doing all the stuff. Yeah. I've got enough momentum that pretty much I'll be about 65 before anyone works out she stopped pressing in, a while ago. And then it was in that moment I just looked at him and I said, oh my gosh, how did I ever get here? How did I get to a place where I would even think, take your foot off the gas, just cruise a little bit, don't press in because it hurts too much, or it's too costly, or it's too. And then I'm looking at the last couple of years just around the world, and I think the currents have shifted so much politically, socially, morally, environmentally. It's just like the shifts that have happened are so rapid, and everyone is kind of feeling destabilized, for want of a better word. And, it doesn't matter whether it's in their relationships, their jobs, especially after the pandemic, their future, their career. I'm thinking we're talking to some athletes. I've had dinner with so many athletes the last few months, Nick and I, and the number of them that have just felt, we had all the COVID year and like, what is going on? What does this look like? How does it work? All of that. And what I realized is that drifting takes a lot of different forms. You can have mission drift, you can have purpose drift, you can have relational drift in your marriages, you can have, faith drift, end up, drifting from Jesus and going, how did I get here? Like there's many ways, but all you have to do to drift is nothing. That's the bottom line, is just do nothing. If your fitness as an athlete to drift, just don't train. You don't have to do anything bad. Just don't do anything. And you're going to drift from your purpose or your potential. And so I found like, okay, what is it in me? Where do I need to dig deep again to go, okay. And it's like, there was Nick and I, once we were in Greece where our A21 headquarters is, and we took a boat out. And Nick said to me, Chris, throw the anchor, put the anchor out. And so I threw the anchor over and, I fell asleep. And a little while later, we hit like another boat. And Nick kind of got up and he goes, Chris, I told you to put the anchor down. I said, I did. And he goes, did you set the anchor? And I'm like, I don't know. I just threw it over. It's like, and he started laughing. And it's like, honey, you have got to actually make sure the anchor connects with the seabed and that it actually grabs the seabed to keep the boat from drifting. Yeah. And I think what this last year for a lot of us has done is the Bible says that Jesus is this hope we have as an anchor for our soul. And in Hebrews 2, it says, pay careful attention lest we drift from so great a salvation. And I think the currents of life and the world have shifted so much. It's like when you're out swimming, the currents are changing, whether you realize it or not. And if you're not checking your markers on the shore, you're going to drift. The undertow is going to take you out. Yeah. Well, in the same way that if we don't check that our anchor, just like the currents change, you go, man, I better check that anchor is rooted in that seabed and it's tight. And if Jesus is this hope we have as an anchor for our soul, then it's time to check our anchor and to check that the things that are connecting us to that anchor are still strong. So the link in the chain doesn't break and we're not disconnected from the anchor. And I think a lot of us have been drifting the last couple of years in so many different ways, emotionally or spiritually or financially or relationally. And it's time to check our anchor. And I think as I was honest in this book to go, man, you could be at the top of your game and you can be, charging the hill, going all out, and then still go, oh my gosh, how did I get here? Where did that drift set in for me? Well, if it could happen to me, it could happen to anyone. That's the bottom line. And I think so many people don't have words for the drift that they're feeling in their heart. And I'm hoping that this book's going to put words in it and then give us great keys on to go, okay, if you've drifted, I want you to know you haven't drifted too far, that God's not going to bring you back. And maybe you haven't even noticed that you are drifting, but here's a few checkpoints that it's really important to go, let me just do a self-check so that, 6 months from now, I don't end up in the place where I've gone, how did I get here? And it's because all you have to do to drift is nothing. That's it. And you'll drift.
That's so good. And the book, again, is called How Did I Get Here? I think the part that resonated with me the most, Christine, just working in ministry, which I'm now doing. I didn't do for so many years working at a place like ESPN. But then I'm reading what you wrote and you said, we can be serving in ministry and be drifting. We can reach multitudes for Christ and still be drifting. And I've found in 4 years, I've had to do some self-checking here because it's easy to let the work that I do replace and, kind of fill in the gap for my relationship with Christ because hey, I'm talking to Christine Caine and we're talking about Jesus. So that's, check that box for me in my walk with the Lord. And it's like, no, actually it's about my personal relationship, getting in the word and prayer with Jesus. And I can't substitute that with anything else, even the good works of ministry. So that part really resonated with me. Can you share a little bit more about that slow drift and the fact that you can do a lot of really good things and yet still be drifting?
I think that's it, Jason. You've hit the nail on the head. And for all of us, see, sometimes we think drifting is like, I'm going to go and have a big backslide. I'm going to go out to the nightclub, get stoned and drunk and just, and it's like, that's what we all think. And it's like, no. You can in your heart be drifting away from intimacy with Jesus without even realizing it. And life will do that to you. The fact is, especially this last year, everyone's gone through so many disappointments, so much discouragement, a lot of hopelessness. It's like, man, I was thinking life was going to be here and here I am here. And some of those things that keep us anchored, which are our basic spiritual practices, being in the Word, speaking to Jesus, being connected to community, however that might be, to a close group of believers. We let that stuff go. It's not intentionally, especially right now. We're feeling so weary. We don't even know why we're so tired, because it's like we've been in quarantine, we've been in lockdown, but there is an exhaustion. There is but it's an emotional exhaustion where the exhaustion that comes with not knowing what you've got players here. Are we going to open up? Are fans going to come? And what team am I going to be traded to? That messes with you internally, unless you've got that personal intimacy with Jesus. Talking to Christine Caine is going to make you feel good for 5 minutes, but I'm not going to sustain you. Only Jesus is going to sustain you. That's why. And really, when I wrote this, I'm like, look, guys, I've been doing this for 30 years, and this is what is going to hold you. This is the bottom line, is your time with the Lord, and your being in the Word, and being around, having a couple of really good, godly people that are going to help sustain you. Like during that time in my life that was very dark, that lasted, a good year and a half, that was really, really painful. It was, thank God, for a couple of very close friends that, sometimes when you feel like you can't even carry yourself to Jesus, you need somebody to carry you. You need somebody to, like the guys that cut the hole in the roof and drop that man on the mat at the feet of Jesus. Because sometimes it's just like, man, this is just too much. And to be able to put your hand up, especially when everyone's expecting you to be the one that has answers, or, you're the professional athlete, you're the great sports person, you're the A-type, number 8 on the Enneagram, man. You're the one going to go out and get it. Yeah. There's got to be a place where you can say, hey, I've got to put my hand up too. I need some help. And I think by being honest in the midst of that in the book and saying, this happens to everyone. No one is exempt from drifting. It does. You could be the Pope and you could still drift if you are not going to make sure that you and your personal relationship with Jesus is not strengthened. And it's the daily small things. That's really what it comes down to. There is no magic pill. You are not going to buy the book and go, what is the magic pill? But it is, your daily small decision. It's no different to training. It's like, man, everyone wants to win the Super Bowl, but most of life is turning up every day and kicking that ball or throwing that ball. And, it's exactly the same in our Christian walk. It's that stuff that actually is the thing that keeps you from drifting. That's the thing.
She is Christine Caine. I want to spend a couple minutes here as we wind down talking about A21. You mentioned it early on, and I know that what's founded in 2008, and I saw the partnership at the Super Bowls in the past, even this past one, with so many of the pro athlete friends that we talked about earlier, people like Andy Dalton and Nick Foles and even Benjamin Watson and some others that are friends of our ministry as well. I think it was called It's a Penalty. Can you tell us a little bit about the heart of A21 and where that was birthed for you and how people can get involved?
Yeah, I love that. I was going to speak at a conference in Greece it was probably around 2006-07 when I first saw all of this. We launched the organization in 2008, but I saw all of these posters of these missing women and children, and went on to find out that these were the alleged victims of human trafficking, which I've got to tell you, Jason, I didn't even know it still existed back then. I'm like, what do you mean human trafficking? Slavery's ended. There's no way I thought this thing was real. But I went on to find out not only is it real, but there are more slaves in the world today than in the history of humanity. And it just blew my mind. I had just had my second child, and I'm like, I cannot believe that on my watch as the church on the earth, that there are more slaves on the earth than, that is not what I want my legacy to be. I don't want, and so out of that, we decided that, I didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't do anything and nothing. I had to do something. And so I began to talk about it. I began to educate myself. I began to find out what could we do. And with my sort of platform to speak to, churches all around the world and to people all around the world, how could I raise not only awareness, but do something practical? And so out of that, A21 came. And we now have offices and operations in 15 countries around the world on the ground. And, it's all about reaching the vulnerable, rescuing the victim and restoring the survivor. So we do everything from prevention and awareness to aftercare. And so what happened at the Super Bowl with the "It's a Penalty," that's part of awareness raising. That is telling lots of people, millions of people one time, this thing is real, this thing exists. And you'll see it billboards all around the world. You'll see A21, what we call "Can You See Me" posters, all major airports around the world, billboards on, freeways all around the world. Education programs in schools. We work with the sporting community all around the world. We have programs called "Bodies Are Not Commodities." So in Europe, you work a lot with the soccer world. South America, the soccer world. Here in America, the football world. But it's teaching people that a body is not a commodity to be bought and sold for sex or labor. It's, it has value and dignity, and putting that through all education systems. We run the hotlines, in the national hotlines in several countries around the world, where people can call when they suspect something of trafficking, and that has resulted in literally hundreds and hundreds of rescues around the world. We do training at airports, airport staff, airlines staff, police staff, law enforcement all around the world, to teach them how to identify potential victims of trafficking. And then, of course, we're involved with law enforcement all around the world for rescue operations and seeing all of that happen. And then we have freedom centers around the world to help restore people holistically, body, soul, and spirit in every way. And to help them, live independently and flourish in life. And so it has grown from seeing a poster in an airport in Greece to 15 officers, several hundred staff around the world, and thousands of people rescued and hundreds of traffickers in jail. So it has been a miracle story. Well,
I have to imagine the work that has to feel so, I hate talking about feelings, but just the purposeful work, when you see the fruit of that labor, when you start an A21 and then you see the results of it, it has to be just an incredible feeling of satisfaction.
Absolutely. It's like, and I come from a background of, abandonment and adoption and sexual abuse. So it's like God has redeemed all the broken fragments of my past. Yeah. And he's given not only me a life beyond my past, but he's allowed me to be able to help others move beyond their past. I can look at any of our victims and, because of my own experience, go, oh, I know there is a future for you. I know there is a life. You are not defined by what was done to you. But God has a plan and a purpose and a destiny for you. So it would be just like Jesus to redeem all of the broken parts of my past to help give somebody else a future.
So cool. What's the A21 website, Christine, so people
can... It's A21.org.
.org, yeah. A21.org. And then your website is ChristineCaine.com, and you can find all your resources there. Follow her on social media and go get the new book. It's called How Did I Get Here? It's available June 8th, everywhere books are found. Christine Caine, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here on the show. Really appreciate it.
Jason, I loved it. And we have to have a game of table tennis next time we meet in person.
I love it. Let's do it. Let's make sure we get some table tennis, little paddles, and I'm probably going to get smoked by you, I'm guessing.
Come on.
Great stuff there from Christine Caine. Go get her book, How Did I Get Here? You can go to ChristineCaine.com. You can check out the website. You can get it on Amazon. Everywhere books are found, you can get a copy of How Did I Get Here? And then the A21 campaign, A21.org, A21.org. Check that out, and you can help join the fight against slavery with A21, the great work that Christine Caine is doing with her nonprofit. That was a treat. That was a lot of fun. That was someone who I have watched videos on YouTube, who I follow on social media. She's got a very influential voice, and to me, it's not just for the ladies, although she has such a heart and a platform, I think, that speaks to the women. But for me, this is encouraging me as well. And guys, we need to hear this as well from Christine, and her voice is such an important one today. And I constantly hear, whenever I hear her on a show or a podcast or watch her on YouTube, the name Jesus is mentioned hundreds of times. And that's what makes me excited when I hear about Christine Caine, that yes, she's doing all these incredible things, writing books and speaking, but she just wants to tell people about Jesus and where our hope can be found. And that's why I'm a big fan, and that's why I listen to Christine Caine. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. We really do appreciate you tuning in. We also appreciate our sponsors, Compassion International. Make sure you check out fillthestadium.com and donate and help release kids from poverty, kids that were left in dire need of help, of aid because of the pandemic. We're stepping in the gap with Compassion to help fill the stadium. Go to fillthestadium.com and donate today. Also want to make sure you check out our website, sportsspectrum.com, and then rate, review, subscribe to this podcast. Tell someone about this podcast with Christine Caine, Sports Spectrum's podcast, the intersection of sports and faith in Christ. We want to bring Jesus back into the conversation. That is our goal. That is our mission, to point people to Christ. We're just using sports as the platform. We hope you enjoyed our conversation. We'll see you next time right here on the show. My name is Jason Romano. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and please do stay safe.